In the gaming space, one of the most enduring myths is that consoles hold back PC gaming. Today's top-end GPUs and CPUs are nearly 10 times as fast as the base Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Despite this, developers continue to build titles that are guaranteed to work in some shape or form on those two platforms. With the Nintendo Switch thrown into the mix, the picture gets even murkier. What's the point of getting a 14.2 T-flop NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti only to run the same games that run on a severely underclocked 10W mobile chip from 2015? From that perspective, it's pretty much a moot point. By the end of a generation at least, high-end PCs are most certainly held back by geriatric consoles. But what about at other times of the console's lifecycle? What about the impact of techniques and technologies developed to tackle console-specific problems, but have since made their way over to PC? The answer is far more complicated than anyone, whether they're a high-end PC gamer or a console fan, would want it to be. PC gaming is held back by consoles, yes, but PC gaming is also enabled by consoles. There's a decades-long symbiotic relationship here that deserves a closer look. About the second thing researchers did after inventing computers was coding games to run on them. As early as 1952, A.S. Douglas created OXO, a simple tic-tac-toe variant that ran on the EDSAC computer. In 1958, William Higginbotham developed Tennis for Two, a multiplayer title that's recognizably similar to Pong, an Atari game that came out a decade later. While the very first video games were written for computers, it was the development and sale of mass-marketed, dedicated video game consoles that made the video game industry viable in the first place. Over its lifetime, from the early 70s through 1992, over 30 million units of the Atari 2600, the world's first mass-market console, were sold. Along with the arcade cabinets that were popular at the time, the 2600 popularized the very idea of video games. When cheaper PCs like the Commodore 64 hit the market in the early 80s, key features like the ability to draw multicolored sprites on screen arose to enable gaming experiences that were otherwise only possible on the consoles of the day. The tremendous popularity game consoles enjoyed before PCs became mainstream arguably helped establish gaming as a key use case for PCs. In other words, consoles made PC gaming possible in the first place. However, the year's 2020 right now. For the past few decades, the relationship between consoles and PCs has changed significantly. A Zen 2 savvy machine like Xbox Series X, running a derivative of Microsoft Windows, is a PC in all but name. How do consoles hold back PC gaming when, well, they're kind of all PCs as well? They do this in a number of ways. Let's look at the obvious first point, the power disparity. As much as Sony and Microsoft try to sell you on the PlayStation or Xbox family idea, consoles are very much fixed machines. They don't meaningfully improve in terms of hardware capabilities after launch. They're fixed monolithic entities in a silicon industry where GPUs and CPUs double in power every couple of years. So what does this mean for PC gamers? For high-end PC gamers, the existence of consoles is, in many ways, a boon. As anyone that bought an R9 290X back in 2013 and paired it with a Sandy Bridge i5 2500K can tell you, high-end PC components have incredible staying power. That particular rig, if it has 8GB of RAM in it, can still consistently deliver a better gaming experience than the PS4 Pro, despite both those components having launched before the original PlayStation 4. Because consoles are fixed platforms, getting a high-end overkill rig early on in a console generation can enable a high-end, better-than-console experience for years without the need to upgrade. On the flip side, this very fact means that the games themselves don't evolve to take full advantage of PC hardware. GSC Game World's Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, with the right mods, still manages to look stunning. But what's truly remarkable, and something that was simply not possible on consoles of the time, was Shadow of Chernobyl's groundbreaking artificial intelligence. At one point in development, Shadow of Chernobyl's AI was advanced enough that NPC characters could play and beat the game by themselves if the player simply did nothing. The advanced life cycles, systems embedded within systems, and emergent gameplay in Shadow of Chernobyl was just not something that was viable on the meager CPUs found on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It's only late this generation that we've started to see titles that take advantage of high-end AI. With the PS5 and Xbox Series X set to feature extremely powerful Zen 2 CPUs, we expect advanced AI to create new paradigms in gaming next generation. And this leads to our next point. Console generations make certain gameplay experiences possible, and not just in a minority of PC exclusives. Because of the sheer popularity of consoles, hundreds of millions of 8th generation consoles are out there in the wild. The leap to a new console generation is what makes it possible for developers to bring innovative, new features to a widespread audience. You can point to efforts on PC before the leap, but so many of the features we've come to expect on PC exist because the current gen consoles are capable of implementing them in some shape or form. Take ray tracing for instance. Despite Nvidia's incredibly hard-sell approach to the technology, only a handful of titles actually implement ray tracing. And of those, only a select few, like Metro Exodus and Minecraft RTX, deliver a true paradigm shift. The 9th gen consoles, though, are both set to support ray tracing. What this means is that it no longer has to be a good-to-have feature on high-end PCs. It becomes something that's part of a standard developer toolkit. And because hundreds of millions of PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X's with ray tracing support are expected to ship over the next decade, graphics card makers will feel the pressure to implement ray tracing hardware across their product stacks. The PS5 and Xbox Series X mean that ray tracing effects on PC even won't be limited to high-end SKUs like the Nvidia GeForce RTX 2070 Super. One question we haven't addressed yet though is this: who exactly are PC gamers? When we look at the PC versus console argument, it's inevitably framed in terms of what high-end PCs can do that consoles can't. What this does is obscure the reality of PC gaming. In terms of global GPU shipments, Intel remains the market leader by a considerable margin. Over half of all PC gamers in the world game on Intel HD GPUs, most of which deliver only a fraction of the graphics horsepower of the baseline PlayStation 4. Even when it comes to the discrete GPU market, mid-range and entry-level solutions like the aging GeForce GTX 1060 and the value-oriented GTX 1650 have much greater uptake levels than top-end cards like the RTX 2080 Ti. Especially at the beginning of a console generation, the vast majority of PC gamers in the world don't have systems with anywhere near the capabilities of the new consoles. What then do fixed console generations mean? Console generations mean that, over time, the cost of entry for PC gaming becomes cheaper and cheaper. By the end of a console generation, even the lowest-end discrete GPUs and a number of high-end integrated solutions will deliver performance that matches or bests the consoles. Take the Ryzen 5 3400G. This is an APU, a CPU/GPU combo, which features a quad-core, 8-thread processor and Vega 11 graphics for just $149. This entry-level PC solution matches the PS4 on GPU performance and bests it in terms of CPU power for half the price. Even low-end Intel HD GPUs are now fast enough to deliver reasonable gaming experiences. The Intel UHD 630 found on the $122 Intel Core i3-10100 is faster than the GeForce 940MX. This low-end integrated Intel GPU delivers twice the graphics performance of the PS3 and is just about fast enough to run certain 8th generation titles at 720p. Almost every discrete is far, far faster. What this means is that entry-level PC gamers can run 8th gen titles at reasonable settings and frame rates because of the simple fact that consoles stay put while PC technology progresses. For the vast majority of PC gamers, console generations are a boon. Every year that rolls by in a console generation, PC hardware gets cheaper and gaming becomes more and more accessible to millions of PC gamers. At the end of the day, it's not easy to answer a question like this. Do consoles hold back PC gaming? Yes, they absolutely do. I'd like nothing more than to see a PC-only developer build an 8th gen game to really put my RTX 2070 Super to the test. But on the other hand, consoles, by way of their ubiquity, are what make the industry on the whole possible, PC gaming included. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.